What's going on, guys? Mega Gig back with another video, back with a different video, a tips and tricks video of my own that I've been wanting to put on the channel for quite some time, just to kind of cover things that I think will make life easier for some people, new players especially, because I'm always getting questions from new players about different things, this and that, and so I thought I wanted to do a tips and tricks video. I wanted to do one, like I said, for quite some time. So I'm going to go over some of the things that I get questions about again, and some of the things that just have come to mind. Granted, this is probably not all the tips and tricks. There's tons of tips and tricks videos out there you can look up if you want to look at other people's things as well. But today I'm going to go over some of the what I feel are more essential things. Again, I'm sure I'm going to miss something, but I've got quite a few written down here. So the first thing that I get asked a lot of times, more often than not by newer players, is how do you have these skills moved around and set wherever? Like, for instance, how do you have Warcry set here? And to do that, you need to unlock or you need to check elective mode, which will allow you to set any skill anywhere. So go into the menu, go into the options, go into gameplay, and select elective mode. That's going to allow you to set any skill wherever. I can set Whirlwind here if I want. You can see I can move Whirlwind to there if I like. Again, I can have it here as I had it. So yeah, that is elective mode. Moving on, another question I get asked sometimes is about moving, and how come there are a lot of little dots like that when I'm moving, maybe on different builds. Because you can see here there aren't any, and now there are. That is because I'm using the mouse wheel to force move. This is just left clicking here. This is the mouse wheel, and you might ask, why is that important, or why do you need that? There's a bunch of different reasons. One of the main reasons I use it is if I'm using a build that requires a lot of moving around, not Whirlwind, so I'm not clicking Whirlwind right now, I'm using something else, and there's a lot of enemies and I don't want to click them or whatever, you can use the mouse wheel, and it doesn't actually register as a click like your left mouse does. So you can use your mouse wheel to move around. So again, how do you do that? You go into the menu, go into options, go into key bindings, and we're going to scroll down to force move. It is under the gameplay section, which is the second section. And where did it go? Force move, yep. And you're going to set key 1 to mouse wheel up, key 2 to mouse wheel down. This is going to allow you to roll back and forth. Depending on the mouse you have, you might not have to set it up exactly like that. But yeah, that just click apply or accept, either way, and then this is going to allow you to move here. And you can also still move with the left click if you like. And of course, if you're using a channeling movement skill like Whirlwind, then you don't have to move it at all. So yeah, that is the force move trick. Moving on, something along those lines, along both of those lines that we kind of covered, is showing the monsters' health over their characters, I guess you would say. Again, you'll go into the options, you'll go into gameplay, and in here you will click display monster health bars. You can also display player health bars if you like. That's not near as important. Monster health bars, though, it makes it a lot easier to tell how much health a monster has and when they're going to die, basically, because you don't want to be leaving them when they're really close to death, you know, etc., etc. And yeah, so that is the monster health bars tip, I guess you could say. Turn those on. And that actually leads us right into the other one, is displaying the floating numbers. A lot of people like to have the really long floating numbers. It'll be, so if you hit 1 billion, it'll have, you know, the entire number out there. If you don't have this checked, however, like I don't like to have it checked personally, it will say when you do 1 billion damage, it'll say, you know, 1.1, and then there will be a B, and if it's in the millions, it'll be an M, and if it's in the thousands, it'll be a K, and so on and so forth. So I like the numbers. I love all the numbers popping up, as is with a lot of farming games, but I don't like the really long ones. I mean, they'll like, you know, go from here to here all across your screen going up. So if you like a lot of numbers, really big numbers, click display long floating numbers. Otherwise, leave that off and you'll just get the regular numbers by selecting display damage numbers here. So display normal damage dealt by the player. So yeah. And critical damage. Here you can basically see all the things you can display. So that's not really, I mean, it's a tip, but it's kind of something that it's easy to get to just in the options. Again, if you don't like, a lot of people use this as well, show icons for dropped items. So it won't say Death's Breath on the ground. It will just have a little icon for the Death's Breath. I personally don't use this. I just don't find it very appealing to the eye, to me, but a lot of people do that. So yeah, take that for what you will and try it out. Alright, the next tip I have is something that a lot of people talk about. There's a lot of videos out there on it. I've mentioned it and gone over it in a couple videos, but I'm going to throw it in the tips and tricks video as well, is the numlock trick. And real quick to demonstrate, I'm just going to demonstrate it on Sprint here. So let me... Marathon, yeah, there we go. So the numlock trick, essentially how you set it up, so this is on the number 3, and you have to hit the number 3 to keep activating it, right? Otherwise, it's just going to go off. And to keep activating it, you're going to have to keep clicking the number 3 and wear out your finger. So with the numlock trick, you can go into the game options, go into key bindings, scroll down into gameplay, and you've got your action skills here. So number 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, 4. You can set these up also on the numpad. You can see I've got skill 2 here on numpad 1 and action bar 3 actually on numpad 2. You can set these up however you want, but essentially set this up. I'll just set it to make it easier. I'll just move it to numpad 3. So it's on numpad 3. Have numlock on when you have this set up and ready to go. And then all you have to do is hit the key on the numpad, have numlock on, hit the number 3 key on there. You see that activated it, and then turn numlock off. And now this is going to continue to cast on its own. And to turn it off, all you got to do is hit numlock again and hit the number 3 button, and it cancels it. So on the numpad, once again, we've got it set up to our number 3 key on the number pad. Hit the number 3, continue holding it down, hit the numlock button, and then you can release both, and then it will continue to cast all on its own. Again, to cancel it, it's the reverse order. Hit the numlock button, and then hit the number 3, and it cancels it. So that is the infamous numlock trick. Next up on the list, we've got a few more to go, and this is actually something I haven't really taken advantage of, but I've been asked about it surprisingly once or twice, why I haven't done it. Is the stash tabs displays. You can change these. So this is basically my Barbarian stash tab. You can right-click this with your right mouse key, and it'll bring up all these different displays that you can come down and you can display whatever you want. So this is my Barbarian tab. I can click Barbarian, and then it's got the Barbarian face there. Which one is... This is mainly my Monk tab, so I can right-click that and click Monk. And it just makes it a lot easier to sort things. I did set this one up to have gems because this is mostly gems when all my stuff is organized. But yeah, so that is changing the tab display. And I know a lot of people will take advantage of that. I probably will eventually. If I don't know. I know where this stuff is, so I guess I just haven't done it. But yeah, that is the changing the tabs display trick and tip. Either way. On to the next thing. Another really quick one that I have gotten asked before is how can you tell when you're lagging, or if you know if it's your internet or your computer that's lagging. And you can look right down here, this little green bar. This is measuring your latency or your ping. And of course, the lower the better, but it will depend on your internet how low it's going to go. However, if it's in the green, more than likely, not guaranteed, but more than likely, your internet is not the problem. And you're doing just fine internet-wise. If you're lagging, then it's something to do with your computer. If your internet is the problem, this will more than likely the actual bar will actually move down a line, and it'll move to yellow, and then it'll change and move to red down here. And so if the servers have just come off of maintenance, or they're about to go on maintenance, or the servers are having problems, or you're having problems with your internet, or maybe a lot of people are streaming, you can look down here. Now, I've had this stay green, but my latency will be 200 to 300. And so it's playable, but there's definitely lag, especially in heavy density. So keep an eye on that. If you're lagging, first thing you do is just scroll down here and check, and that will tell you if your internet or something is kind of being funny. So yeah, another little tip there that I get asked a lot about. And we are almost done comparing items. This is something that some new people don't quite, might not quite know of. So you can see here, I've got this little rogue, and it's automatically comparing it to this weapon. Some people will change positions to get it to compare to the other weapon. Two different little tips on this. One, all you have to do once you're over it is just hit the Alt key, and that literally shows the alternate item that you're holding. It'll show it in your offhand. You can see it switching there. Also, if you want to compare this to, say, a non-augmented, if it doesn't have, you want to compare, you just want to compare the item straight across, is what I'm trying to say. And you don't want to compare gems or anything like that. You can hold the Shift key, and that will show the items comparable without the stat buffs from gems and the like. You can see there the stats down there are changing. And then right along these lines as well, if you want to see the max stats of something, you can roll over this and hit the control button, and you can see up there now attack speed. It says it can roll anywhere between 5 to 7%. The next one down, 4.5 to 6, 5 to 8 on cooldown reduction. So the cooldown reduction on that is on the low end. And then, of course, it's comparing all of them. You can do the same thing on these, and it will show the max stats that you can roll. So if you roll a legendary item, and so for this, it's a good one for this, for instance. Increase the duration of Ignore Pain by 6 seconds. That's as good as you can get. If you roll one at 4 and you're not sure what is good or bad, you can hit Control, and it'll compare, and then there you go. You've got 6 seconds on there. So another little tip and trick for the UI. Alright guys, the last tip I have is farming materials, mainly arcane dust, reusable parts, veiled crystals. For Death Breaths and Forgotten Souls, these mainly drop from elites, and then Forgotten Souls you can get from salvaging ancients, salvaging legendaries, which will give you 1 Forgotten Soul, ancients, which will give you 3, and primal ancients, which will give you, I believe, 10. It could be between 8 and 10. I'm not 100% sure. But primals give you a lot of Forgotten Souls. You can see I've got a ton of those. You're probably not going to have any shortage of those. The main thing people run out of because they're upgrading items and things like that are reusable parts, arcane dust, and veiled crystals. So you might think the easiest way to get veiled crystals, for instance, is just to farm nothing but gold items or pick up nothing but gold items and then salvage them and you get a bunch of veiled crystals. But you only get 1 veiled crystal per yellow you break down, whereas with blue items and white items you get a lot more. So pick up whites over blues and blues over yellows, and then if you happen to have storage space, go ahead and pick up what yellows are around you too. Now, where can you actually find these? One of the best places, I don't actually know every single best place, but one of the best places is Act 5, the Battlefields of Eternity. You can run around, you teleport in, and there's almost always a weapon rack right around close. There are weapon racks all around. I say that, and now I'm not finding one. There's one. And so you can usually just fly all around the battlefields. There's weapon racks all over the place generally. Sometimes you might get a random map that didn't spawn items very well. But yeah, you can see we're going all around. Sometimes you'll get really lucky and there'll be weapon racks all over the place. And we're actually running out of fury because we don't have anything to hit. And I actually want to get some other items too, so let's pick these up. Alright, there's another weapon rack. Alright, let's get out of here if we can, so I can finish what I'm talking about. Alright, so let's go up here. You can see we will demolish this, and we get 9 reusable parts. 8, 8, 9, 4. 4? Wow, I don't know if I've ever got 4. That's interesting. And then usually veiled crystals are the hardest to come by. I happen to have the most of those right now, which is kind of interesting. But they're kind of the hardest to come by just because when you salvage the items, if I were to salvage this, it would only give me 1. If you do what I just showed and farm a lot of reusable parts or arcane dust by breaking down those, you can come to the cube. And I actually showed this in my cube tutorial. So if you want an entire cube tutorial, be sure to check that out. But because it pertains to what we're doing here, I'll go ahead and show it here as well. Say we want more veiled crystals. You can come to the Convert Veiled Crystals page. Click the Fill button. It's going to put... no, we actually want... you want to convert whichever one you want to convert over. That's what I'm trying to say. So if I want to convert Arcane Dust to Veiled Crystals, come to the Arcane Dust page, click Fill, it'll put Death's Breath and Arcane Dust in there, and then put whatever item type you want in here. And so I want to convert to Veiled Crystals, right? So I want a yellow item. If I wanted to convert Arcane Dust to reusable parts, I'd put a white item in here. And then click Transmute, and boom, we got 100 of those. So that is tips and tricks. Again, this part was in my cube tutorial, but where to find and what to farm to get the most out of your farming and your salvaging was not. So yeah, that is the end of my little tips and tricks video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, like I said in the beginning, there's tons and tons of tips and tricks out there. I don't know if you'd find a video that has every single one, but if you want to get a lot of them, be sure to check out all the tips and tricks videos that you can find just by searching tips and tricks. And if for some reason you came across my video and you happen to enjoy it, please give a like and a comment and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you guys for watching. More good stuff to come. Take care.